everyone. Welcome to another live stream on daily discipline. Today we're going to talk about probably one of the most important thing that I've learned with helping people with anxiety, confidence, discipline, and what I also learned myself in my own personal life. With dealing with anxiety over the years and overcoming it, making progress, and then the anxiety coming back, having to work with it again, and that's the ability to still move forward when you're experiencing anxiety. And that's why I titled this so I'm just waking up here, I've not long woke up, just gotta get my mind right. Just got my coffee as well. So that's why I titled this, how to accept anxiety, because that's what all people struggle with. But I also mean not just accepting it by not doing anything, but moving forward in your life. So that's pretty much where everyone's coined the term getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think what that basically means is, if I could give some examples. So if you're experiencing anxiety right now in your life, and most of my clients are, and I am, when you wake up in the morning, you've got a choice. You can put things off and procrastinate and avoid and not go to the gym, or not work on your business, or not meet up with people, isolate yourself, or not do the things that you want to do. You can do that, and that only makes anxiety worse. It reinforces that you reinforce that you're scared of things, and you kind of make yourself stay stuck. You don't get better. Things can actually get worse. So like I said, it's something I want to keep explaining, and sometimes I struggle to explain it because this is something that you'll learn through practicing. This is a behavioral practice. It's not logical. And sometimes that's where people get stuck, and I sometimes struggle to explain. I find it hard to explain this on YouTube, but if I'm working with a client in person, I can explain it better. So it's basically facing your fears, the things that you want to do in your life, your goals, your tasks, your hobbies, the small things, the big things. Doing those things whilst you are experiencing anxiety, and when you do that, things definitely get better. Your life will get better. And the anxiety, see, the idea for everyone, of course, is you want to get rid of the anxiety, and you can do that to a certain degree. I've done it personally in my life several times. I've helped clients, but realistically, you're not going to get rid of anxiety forever. And part of anxiety is normal amounts, but this is about learning to live with it and move forward with it or without it, whether you've got it or not. So it really is a beautiful practice. And it's actually, anyone you see that's successful, or anyone that's, quote unquote, overcame, something big in their life. For example, let's use David Goggins. I can relate to that. So, David Goggins would have had, obviously, he said it already, would have had big anxiety, depression. He was overweight, he had social anxiety. He had all the anxieties that everyone's got, that you've got, that I've had. And for many years, he didn't move forward. He just ate donuts, cakes. He did a job which he said was a dead-end job, spraying for cockroaches, even though there's nothing wrong with doing that, but that's his story. And he was depressed and down. He used to just, basically go work, come home, eat bad, and he blew up to 300 pounds. But after a while, he decided to take action, join the Navy SEALs. And that is the practice. From the moment you get out of bed and leave your house, that is the practice. And then obviously there's more things that you've got to do. So that's another example of the daily discipline routine. It's designed to teach you to do things even when you feel huge anxiety. So if I can also give an example, I've got anxiety now. I had anxiety this morning now, and I'm doing this talk. So I'm not saying this to show off, but I'm also going to give myself credit. But years ago, I wouldn't have done this, 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to speak with confidence and be able to calm myself down. when I had anxiety, I would just not go and do a talk, or not go to a job interview, or avoid my friends and family, and that only made it worse. So the more you're able to, perform and do things, the stronger you're going to get, and the anxiety will eventually go away. Or if it doesn't go away, it will minimize, and it wouldn't bother you. You just get used to it, and that's a wonderful place. That is another, that's another form of freedom. So that's the idea. I'm going to keep explaining it today because it's simple, but it's complicated in trying to explain it to people and get people to do it. So yeah, the term being comfortable, being uncomfortable is basically saying, do things when you're scared. Do things when you're anxious. Don't put them off. Don't wait for your anxiety to go away, because it's a trap. You're going to get stuck longer, and you're going to stay stuck, and you're not going to make progress. So this is a big part of my teaching, my mentorship, and I'm really good at that. That's something that I'm really good at. I'm not claiming to, take my clients' anxiety away completely, because I don't have the power to do that. I don't think anyone does. But I teach them the tools to move forward and to face things and get things done and to live their life regardless of whether they've got anxiety or not. And usually most people have. Today everyone's got anxiety to a large degree with the sort of climate and the times that we're living in. It's quite stressful, but not everybody learns the discipline to do this. So another example as well I can give you is, like when I go for a run, for example, on most days I've got anxiety before I do the run, and sometimes during the run I've got a lot of anxiety and intrusive thoughts and negative emotions, but I've practiced being able to sustain the whole run. And when you do that, you feel a lot better after. You get stronger, and you learn to be in discomfort and distress and build up a higher tolerance. So it really is a useful skill, and it kind of doesn't make sense when you explain it logically. If you say to someone they're feeling terrible, they've got anxiety, shame, guilt, loneliness, depression, because these are all the things that anxiety can cause, depending on how extreme you've got it. If you say to someone, go to the gym when you're feeling like that, a lot of people, they'll think you're crazy. They won't want to do it. But that's how you get over depression. That's one of the ways that makes you make progress. So it's something that you practice daily, and you start off, doing whatever task you can do, and then building up from there, because obviously some things are going to be easier than others. Some are going to be harder, but the more you practice, the better you get. And also it's also about, there's different practices, like trying to ignore your anxiety, your negative thoughts, and focusing on positive things that you want to do. Like I said, doesn't really matter what it is, but obviously it's what's important to you. Everyone's got their own goals and tasks and hobbies, but goals usually do become fears, the goals that people have, because as soon as people go towards their goals and the things that they want to do, their fears get triggered. And that's another skill as well. I did a live stream about that the other day in a video, which is really challenging for everyone, my clients and all of us, myself included. Sometimes that if you do something, you're going to get triggered, and then you're going to be like, because obviously there's different levels of anxiety. There's a certain level that you've got, but it ain't that bad. You feel it in the background. But then there's the fight or flight, massive adrenaline, and the panic, which is like it could go to a panic attack or something mild. And that usually comes with a trigger, whether it's a mental trigger or when you go and do something that you want to do or enjoy doing, or something challenging, for example. Sometimes, like paying a bill, you're going to get triggered, and then you're going to want to run away. But the triggers are actually good to go through, because that's how you break them down and eventually get over them and have less of a reaction. So all these things kind of connect with one another. So that's for me what it means to accept anxiety. It doesn't just mean to do nothing and just to let it defeat you. It means to go out and be brave. And that's kind of the definition of courage. where with courage you do feel anxiety, you do feel really frightened, you feel uncertain, you feel lonely, you feel all the fearful feelings of and all the negative emotions, but you still have the courage to go and do things. And I'm just giving examples to help all of you. I've done this many times, and my clients are really doing really well at this. I've gone and done events and given public talks and helped other people to face anxiety, face the fears. And I've been experiencing high levels of anxiety, but as I've done it more and more, I've got used to it. And what you find is it doesn't stay high forever. Once you get into talking and warming up, this is what happens to me. It happens to me now in talks. The anxiety kind of diminishes. Like, you overpower it with your presence, with communication, with your focus, and you get past those emotions. You get through them, if that makes sense. So it's like breaking down, brick walls in a sense, but in your own mind and body, if that makes sense. So this is something for many years that I've always wanted to explain, and I always feel like, it's going to sound a bit complicated, but I think people will understand it, and that's why you've really got to practice it. So to give you, again, I want to try and simplify this and get as much out as I can today and get your questions going. So, you're feeling anxiety now, and maybe you're worried that it's going to get worse. Try and complete something whilst you're not feeling good. That is the actual behavioural practice. And like I said, the more and more you do that, the more you tell your brain that the thing that you're frightened of is nothing to be frightened of. It's quite an irrational threat. So people with anxiety, OCD and disorders, we have irrational fears around things that are so unlikely to happen. But you have to go out and live your life to get that strength. You remember me from school, yeah? Really? What school did you go to? I can't remember your name. Let me know. So, that's the whole explanation. So with anxiety, so it's kind of like you're facing two fears in one go. So let me give that analogy again. I'm going to give examples from my life so it can inspire morning to all of you. So when I used to do amateur boxing down Fitzroy Lodge, I'd wake up in the morning at my nan's when I lived with my nan, and I would be so anxious. I'd be anxious about the sparring. I'd be worrying, really stressed and worried. It wouldn't be a panic attack, but it would be a constant anxiety to the point where I couldn't eat breakfast. My nan would ask me, do you want to have some food out there? There's bread or toast or tea. And I'd be like, I can't eat, nan, not now. So I couldn't eat because I was so scared about sparring. I didn't go to a school near Fitzroy Lodge. If we know each other, well, what's your surname? What's your surname, John? So as I said, I woke up with anxiety in the morning about the sparring, and I just felt anxious being around people, going out in public because of the anxiety. But I'd force myself to get my kit. I'd get on the train, I'd be anxious on the train on the way to the gym. I'd be so nervous. I'd be sweating with fear. Then I'd get to the gym, I'd go into Fitzroy Lodge, I'd be nervous, I'd be absolutely terrified. I feel like I was going to get sick, and also, excuse my language, I feel like I was going to have diarrhea. Sometimes I had to go to the toilet, I was that frightened. But I would just do it, I'd make myself do it. I'd go in the ring and then I'd be scared in the sparring, during the sparring. But once the sparring finished, I felt great after. John Williams, I can't remember your name, I'll be good with faces. Apologies if I don't remember your name. Appreciate you coming on the live stream. So after the sparring was over, mate, you must be joking around. After the sparring was over, I'd feel better, I'd feel stronger. because I'd face that anxiety and like I said, I'd move forward with it. And then obviously, well, the next week I'd be frightened again. I'd have to go through the same process. So this is something that, you know, most people, you're going to have to practice for a long time, maybe for a couple of years. It depends on how much you face, the mentors that you get, the help that you get, support. All those things play a big part, but it is a great skill, because what other choice do you have? What other choice do people have? I know it's hard to hear that sometimes. The other choice is to stay stuck, and when you stay stuck, things never get better. They usually get worse. Guys and girls, if you get your questions, try and make the questions relevant to the topic. Apologies, I'm in a teaching mood, so I'm not massively in a mood for jokes. I've not long woke up in the morning. I'm kind of focused, so try and keep your questions relevant to the subject today. I'm not saying that you can't laugh and have jokes, but actually laughing is good for anxiety, but I want to stay on topic. So, you know, that's where a lot of people get stuck. They procrastinate. People procrastinate because they don't want their anxiety to get worse. Good to see you, Steve. So it's really changing your thinking. And I think that's something that a lot of people are realizing today. I mean, years ago, in my generation, people didn't really speak about anxiety because there was a lot of shame and embarrassment around it. People didn't really admit it. Whereas good today, people are admitting it. And back then, it was more about, you know, feeling shame for having anxiety and wanting to get rid of it. But now people are realizing that, you know, you can't fully get rid of anxiety, but you can learn tools to reduce it and live with it and not care if you got it or not. And that's a great place to be at. If you get to a point where you don't care whether you've got anxiety or not, but you just care about being the best person you can be, being kind, you know, being disciplined, living your life, then it's not really going to bother you. Good to see you, Kenneth. And the reason why sometimes it's not helpful just to focus on getting rid of your anxiety and feeling good all the time is because that teaches you to be, you know, not as mentally and emotionally strong. Because when you're not feeling good, then people just assume, oh, I'm going to just stay in bed, or I'm going to put things off, or it's in the title. Read the title with the stream. If you read the title, it says it on the title. So, like I said, you know, if you only move forward and you only go to work and you only socialize and you only go to the gym and you only face your fears when you feel good, then there's going to be a lot of time in your life where you're not going to get nothing done. And that's where, you know, we have a generation of so many people. Oh, sorry, apologies. I didn't know that you found the stream really on the shorts. I didn't know you could find it that way. Okay, so this, the live stream, I'm a mentor and a teacher. Welcome to the channel, appreciate it. This is about how to accept anxiety and how to face your fears, you know, how to get things done in your life, how to not procrastinate, all those things. And like I said, that's what I've learned. I really learned that. I've learned that in a lot of areas of life, from teaching others and from learning, but especially with boxing. Because in boxing, you know, you couldn't say it wouldn't work. You couldn't say, well, I'm going to get rid of my anxiety first, and then I'm going to box, then I'm going to spar, or then I'm going to have a boxing match. You're never going to do it because you're going to feel fear. All boxers feel fear. They're human, but they learn to manage it, and that's the great skill. They're not trying to get rid of it, and most boxers will tell you that you need some nerves. The nerves and the anxiety help them to be sharp. helps them to win the fight, helps them to, to survive, to box. And that's the same in life. We need a little bit of fear and anxiety, otherwise we won't survive in a sense. We won't be able to have that energy to get things done. But of course, no one likes massive, like a panic attack. That's where the anxiety gets out of, it gets too much. So it's learning to keep it, to a certain level that you can manage. But you're only going to do that through practicing facing fear. Whatever you want to overcome, most things that you're frightened of, you have to face those things so you're not scared of them no more. And you're not going to be comfortable whilst you're doing that. And like I said, if you go on Google and write in what is the definition of courage, it will explain the exact thing that I'm talking about today. So sometimes I regret and say, because when people ask me what do I teach and how do I help people, it's in so many different areas it can get a little bit confusing for me, but it's really about teaching people to practice being courageous, exercising their courage. Anxiety is the fruit of nihilism. Really? Okay. I've heard that before. So that's really what it's about. It's about exercising your courage. And, having courage does not mean not having anxiety. It means having fear. Mike Tyson said it many times before. If you look at his life, he was petrified. He had huge anxiety. He was crying when he was younger. He didn't want to fight. He was going to run away. That's how frightened he felt, like how we all feel at times in our life. But obviously his trainers and his mentors, helped him and taught him and encouraged him, sometimes forced him to go in the ring. And when he got in the ring, he done the business most times. He was brilliant at what he did. He won most of the fights, right? Not all of them, but most of them. But it would be easy for people, if they didn't know what he was feeling, people would just assume, he doesn't have any fear. It's easy for him. I have fear. It's like, no, he does. He manages it better than you do right now. So that's why I give examples, because it doesn't really matter what area of anxiety that you have. The anxiety is internal to begin with. You've got the anxiety in your own body. So wherever you go in your life, it's going to be there. And I mean that in a positive way. So get your questions in, guys and girls. Thanks for joining today's live stream. It's all about how to accept anxiety, but how to accept anxiety not by just not doing anything in your life, but by facing your fears, completing your daily tasks, working on your goals, whatever those goals are, doing simple things. Good to see you, Tim. Oh, are you kidding me? Wow, you met Tony the Tiger Lopez. Wow. I watched his fights. My dad likes him and showed me him. Well, that's great. Yeah, he was a really good fighter, very good fighter, very brave. And that's what it's really about being a fighter in life. So, I've also answered the question on how to overcome procrastination. You've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You've got to complete things when you're feeling scared. We would have all experienced it, when we was at school, or if you was at work, or if you went to a meeting, at some point you would have had a time where, if you're in a group, for example, at work or a meeting, they would have asked you to come up to the front and to speak, or if you're doing a meet-up group or some sort of presentation, they usually go around the room and say, introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself, blah blah blah. And as it's going round and your turns come, you would feel nervous, you'd feel anxious, but you would do it. Even if you were nervous and you were awkward, there's chances that you could say, I can't do it, but generally you would do it and you'd get through it. And it wouldn't feel comfortable, it wouldn't feel pleasant, but you'd feel better after for doing it. Whereas if you didn't do it and you put it off, you don't achieve anything. You don't make no progress. So it's about making progress every day, and everyone can make progress. by learning the skill to move forward when you feel anxious, by learning the behavioral skill and the mental strength to complete your task when you feel anxious. And people have done it in many ways before. People have, some people go work every day and they're anxious. They may not tell their colleagues and their co-workers because they're embarrassed, which I understand, nothing to be embarrassed about, or they're ashamed, or they're worried about being judged, but they're going to work every day and they're being brave. They may not realize that they're doing it, but they are. But they may not be practicing that in other areas of life because they're more scared and they've got a belief they can't do it. And I've helped a lot of clients who have been brave in many areas, but there might be a certain triggering area that really frightens them. For example, it could be live streaming on YouTube. I've had clients who, good question. The moral of the conversation is courage. It's about accepting that having courage in life and being courageous does not mean you don't feel fear. It means you feel fear. You feel anxious. You feel insecure. You feel all those human emotions. Guilt, shame, those things can come. Not always, but they can come. We all feel them at times, but you still show up. So for example, you go and do a public talk when you're terrified. I've done that from personal experience. It's absolutely terrifying, but it's a beautiful experience when you do it. You feel like you can do anything, and I've helped clients to do that, and I've been so happy for them. And I've got friends that have done that. Maybe some of you have done that. And I've been at talks. I've been at my event and called someone up and got them to do it, and they've done so amazing. Good question. Where do you find courage? You find courage within yourself. So you don't find courage reading a book, though you might read a book that inspires you. So courage within yourself. But obviously, courage is not like this cup where I can show you it and go, look at that. That's how you find courage. It's not like that. It's internal. But you find courage within, and you find courage by making a choice, by committing, by making a vow, and digging deep. And when I was younger, I didn't know how to find courage. I found it because I was petrified in situations, especially when I got bullied. It happened through sheer terror and desperation and instincts and intuition, literally having nothing else to rely on. And that was when I discovered it as a young kid. And it was, I couldn't believe that I could get through certain situations because I felt so frightened and weak and paralyzed with fear and so many negative thoughts, and absolutely petrified to the point of where I just froze up. But in those situations, I was able to find courage and unfreeze myself and communicate. And that came in the form, I'm not advocating violence for anyone or fighting, but that came in the form of me standing up to getting bullied, or having a whole group of kids laugh at me, and me standing up for myself, and responding verbally, which took every bit of courage in those situations. And being in some situations that were, could have been life and death. So I'm not saying you got to go to that extreme example, but when you're really frightened, it's going to feel like that. Yeah, courage comes out of fear. Exactly. That's what I've said. You're correct. Of course it does. If there was no fear, there'd be no need to be courageous. Courage wouldn't be needed if there wasn't fear. So you're right. You asked me how old am I? I'm 41. I just turned 41 2 days ago. True. And through practicing leaving your comfort zone by welcoming failure to find the courage. Absolutely, you have to do that. You will not find your courage in your comfort zone. You have to do that. But obviously, I've given some extreme examples of some basic ones. I'm not saying every single thing you're going to do, you're going to be so frightened. Some things are not as scary, but the main principle is getting in the habit of facing things that scare you, and living your life when you're feeling anxiety. And for some people, that's constant. They're constantly experiencing anxiety, and I've been there, and I'm experiencing anxiety again in my own life, and I'm having, still getting things done, going to work, coaching clients, going to the gym, doing these live streams, getting up early. So I speak from experience, from being a sufferer as well, but making progress and knowing that any of you can do it, anyone can do it. It's not easy, it really isn't. It is uncomfortable, but again, there's times where it is easy, it can change. So it's not indefinite. So I'm not going to exaggerate, but I'm not going to downplay it. There's some days where it almost feels impossible. And that's like all things in life. If you look at your life, good morning, Timmy, you have days where you think, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day today. I just can't do it. We all have those days, and then you do get through it somehow. And then there's other days where you think, this is easy. I'm never going to go back to struggling again, because you're in a good place, feeling good. And of course, eventually there will be struggles again. But one of the biggest challenges is long-term discipline, being consistent, because the reality is, I think pretty much everyone on this stream who's going to watch this video later on, and including me and my clients, you're not going to complete this in one day. This is kind of a lifelong practice, over the next, and also, you make progress. I think I tried to explain this before, where people have got an idea that you can overcome anxiety, which you can overcome it, but it's not going to be in the way that your idea is, where you think that you're going to overcome anxiety, then you're never ever going to feel frightened again. You're never going to get anxious. Of course you are, but you're going to be much more peaceful. So I would say overcoming anxiety means not being depressed, having more of a sound mind, being a lot more peaceful and joyful in life, having, being in a good place, and experiencing it like every normal person does from time to time. But having bad anxiety means when you're depressed every day, you're not getting much peace. You can still get peace though, but it's inconsistent. So there's kind of a description between the two. But whether you're depressed or not, everyone can practice this skill on any given time, on any given day, and that's learning to move forward however you feel, whether you feel depressed or not. It's actually better to do it when you're not feeling good, and that's how you'll get better again. I try to believe that our anxiety comes from a great grandparents. Gary. Yeah. I know when we're all away from the stream, we'll do the work. That's the idea, yeah, that's great. And believe me, motivation is important, because this is almost like something that you can't clock this like a video game. I need motivation, everyone does. There's times where you're not going to be motivated. So you could be, I mean this in a good way, like, you could be super motivated for 6 months. For 6 months, you could be facing your anxiety, your fears, your discipline every single day, which is incredible. That'd be incredible. And during that 6 months, you completely change your life as a person. I've seen it with clients. It's amazing. I'm seeing it with 2 of my clients now. They've been doing my 1-year mentorship program, and the changes are massive because they've been consistently facing their anxieties every single day. And we do weekly sessions on the program, and it's a long program. It's a great program, but it's a challenging program because it's a 1-year commitment. It's challenging for me and for the client, but we're doing it. And my clients, Phil and James, actually booked a second 1-year program with me because they made so much progress they wanted to keep going. That's being committed, because realistically 1 year goes quick, 2 years goes quick, and for most people that have got bad anxiety, they're going to have to dedicate at least a year. I'd say maybe more, depending on how severe your anxiety is, to changing your life and getting your mind into a good place and getting your life as best as you can possibly get it. So yeah, you could be consistent, but after 6 months, something can happen. You can have a breakup, a loss in life, a challenge. Something can, your business, financial, something can happen, and then bring on all your anxiety again. That happens to all of us. It's happened to me lately. And that's when you've got to practice again and have that motivation when you've experienced loss or disappointment or an extra stress that's added on. And that's something that we all can't control. And we all want to do that, me included. We want to protect our happiness and peace. So we fight so hard to get into a good place, which is good. But then we're so frightened of going back into a bad place. And that can be not a good thing, right? Again, I'm not claiming these things are easy. They're not easy, but you can do them. People are doing them. So it's accepting anxiety is also accepting that when you get rid of it and you're in a good place, it can come back. But at least you've got the tools and the knowledge on how to cope with it and not let it completely ruin your life. So that's where discipline comes in. And I think a lot of people struggle with the idea of something for your life. If you say to people, like if you say to most people, people say, how long does it take me to recover from anxiety? And the answer really is life. It's a lifelong practice. And people go, oh my goodness, no, I can't handle that. That's too long. But it doesn't really mean that. It kind of means that, and it doesn't. It means that you might be able to get over it in 6 months and get to where you want to be. But you're going to have to keep practicing. I mean, the same way, if someone, I guess, has been an alcoholic and then they get clean, they haven't drank for 10 years and they're 10 years sober, they can't just be in the mindset that now they've done it, they never got to work on it again. They've got to practice it for life. They've got to keep away from alcohol for life, because obviously it's I suppose it's an illness, it's an addiction. So anxiety is no different. You might get rid of it in 2 years of practice or therapy or getting mentorship, which is great. But if you don't continue to do the same habits that got rid of it, it's going to come back, and it can come back. So it's having the tools in place, and that's the same with dieting. People say, how long is it going to take to eat healthy and to lose weight? And it's like, yeah, you can lose weight in a matter of weeks and days if you go to the extreme and you diet or you train hard, and there's different ways of doing it, fasting. But it's going to be a lifelong practice, because if you lose the weight but you don't maintain the discipline to eat healthy and to exercise, then you're going to put the weight back on. And again, anxiety works in exactly the same way. For someone that's got social anxiety, I've worked with clients, and I've helped clients to get over social anxiety in 1 year. Some clients make massive progress in 6 weeks, and I've had clients, make big progress in a couple of months because of the mentorship and the coaching that I've given them, and the help and support and the work that they're putting in between sessions. But if they overcome it in a year, but then they isolate themselves for 2 years, the social anxiety is going to come back. So social anxiety is exactly the same. The principle is the same. So I wanted to give all of you the tools for life. And again, I think people only learn this when they, it's not making a mistake, but when they go through the disappointment. Yeah, so if you're anxious for everything, this practice today would really help you. You're anxious anyway, so you might as well get the best out of life, and you might as well face I don't mean everything, right? But I mean face the things that you need to face, whatever that could be: work, relationships. Usually, let's be honest, right? All of our anxieties they're pretty much the same. We've got anxiety of what people think about us, relationships, rejection. We've got anxiety around money, around career. We've got anxiety around health, around training. We've got anxiety around, I guess, traveling to new places, learning new things. Until we get good at those things and overcome them, or get less afraid. But the mind will, I suppose your anxiety will constantly try and trick you. It does it to me. If you're aware of it, you can be on top of it. It will constantly say, yeah, but not right now. I'm not ready yet. And that's the problem where people get stuck. When they say, people do it all the time, right? They do it with me. I want to take your, I want to do mentorship with you, but not right now. There's always an excuse. It's like, next month or next summer I'm going to do it, and they don't do it next summer. Usually the people that always do it are the ones that just commit when straight away or quicker. And people do that with starting their business. They go, I'm going to start my own business, but not right now. I need to get this first, I need to get that first, or I need to have loads of money first, or I need to get the marketing right. Usually you don't. You could get started. You don't need money to get started in most businesses. And even when people got the money, they'll make some other excuse. Or I need to go to the gym, or I need to move house first. Make all these excuses because they don't want to face being uncomfortable. They don't want to move forward whilst being afraid. And that's what keeps you stuck. You don't grow like that. No, to be honest, I'm not trying to decrease your anxiety. You've got that wrong. I'm trying to give you the tools to move forward with your anxiety. But obviously, I would like your anxiety to go down, but that's not really what I'm teaching today. I'm teaching you how to move forward with your anxiety, how to get more things done. And again, I'm glad they misunderstand what I'm saying, and they misunderstand what a lot of therapies and mentorship's about. So the goal is not to get rid of your anxiety today. It's not, because you can't get rid of it by trying to get rid of it in the way that you think. You cannot just go away, go away. It's not going to go away like that. The goal is to allow it to be there, to accept it, and to move forward and do the things that you would do if you felt good, if you didn't have the anxiety. That's a good way of looking at it. What are the things that you would do today if you felt good and you didn't feel anxious? I guarantee you more people would socialize more. They'd start their own business. They'd give more to others. They'd be friendlier. They would, clean their apartment. They'd travel. They'll get things done in life because they felt good. So how can you do that? How can you apply the same principle when you're feeling like crap? Sorry, my language. Because for a lot of the times you're going to feel like crap. And I felt like crap when I woke up this morning. That's the reality of it. But I make myself get things done. I do the best I can. And that's how you build up confidence and strength. And that's how you actually increase feeling better. So feelings can change all the time. You wake up in the morning, I have it. Some days I wake up, I feel terrible. Same way my clients do, and a lot of people do today. I feel like crap. I feel awful. I don't want to get out of bed and face the day. I don't want to go to work, even though I love what I do. I don't want to do the live streams. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to be around because I'm not feeling good. But when I take all those steps, I feel better. And if you don't feel better, you just got to accept that and just trust that you're gonna make progress long term, and eventually you will feel better. But you can't rely on always feeling good, because feelings can change all the time. You might feel good every single day for a week, which is lovely. And then when the second week comes, you get triggered and then you feel bad again. You're back to square one. So it's the discipline to move forward, whether you feel good, whether you don't feel good, whether you feel down, whether you feel up, whether you feel anxious, whether you feel peaceful. It's such a good skill to have in life. And really, it's a skill that a lot of us haven't been taught. A lot of the things, it's weird. The teachings are out there, including myself, the therapist, the mentors. But in earlier life, most of society, it's weird. They play this weird game on perfectionism when no one's perfect, when everyone has fears and anxieties. But there's not enough, there's more now, but there's not enough people being honest and saying, look, that's why I get inspired by Goggins, because he doesn't lie. He doesn't say he feels good all the time, even though he's made, you know, millions of pounds, he's successful. He's honest. He'll say, I'm feeling like crap today. You know, my demons are back. They don't go away just because you become successful. And he goes, that's why I'm running again. People, you know, that inspires me, because I get that. Teachers feel like that. We're human. We get days where we feel awful, we feel anxious, we feel shame, we feel bad, we feel all those feelings. We're human. But we try to set an example for ourselves and to our clients and people that we want to help, and move forward and get things done. And that is, how can I say that? What's the right word? I guess gratitude. That is discipline. That's not the same, because a lot of people, not there's competition, but, you know, sometimes people will play on, well, if Jonathan says he feels like crap today, then that gives me permission to not do anything. Or if that person online feels like crap, then that means that, you know, yeah, there's no hope. And it's like, no, we're not saying that. There's plenty of hope. What we're saying is, you know, you're going to gain a lot by moving forward when you feel like crap, as opposed to not doing anything. So 2 examples just to give. So let's say we've got 2 people, just names. We've got John and Bob. And John and Bob, you know, they wake up, right? And they both feel like crap. They both feel anxiety. But Bob says, well, I feel crap today. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm gonna put everything off and just sleep in all day. Bob says that, right? Where John says, I feel like crap, but I'm gonna go out and face everything and get everything done. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go to work. I'm going to clean my apartment. I'm going to, you know, get therapy. It's different because they've responded different. So John's making more progress than Bob. They both feel like crap, but Bob's quit. He's not trying. So you don't, you know, there's nothing in a respectful way. And I understand it's not easy. There's times where we all give up. I've done it, but there's nothing, you know, there's nothing to be merited by not doing anything. No one's going to like be inspired by that. People are inspired by people that are resilient and that try and don't give up. No one's going to get inspired if someone just gives up. It might make them feel better about them giving up. So that's the difference between the two. Because that perfectionism mindset today, where, you know, people are constantly looking to bring other people down to feel better. So they want to see flaws in me or in anyone. But that's a negative mindset. So don't go on that premise, you know, don't be like, oh, I've got an excuse, because if someone else feels bad, then, you know, it's fine to feel bad, but I don't think it's helpful to just give up and not do anything. Of course, unless you're struggling where you need to get help, and that is actually a positive thing, to reach out, take strength. So that's what I mean, another explanation with all this stuff, of moving forward. And you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Recovering from anxiety, you know, changing your life, losing weight, building a business, getting over social anxiety, all these things are going to take time, effort. But you'll get there quicker if you've got help and support and the right mentors and the right strategy and tools. And by, you know, practicing daily, taking one day at a time, that's all we can take. Building from that one day, and then it goes into the next day. So it's discipline, and it's building things up. And as I said, you will experience joy as well. You know, it's not like you're going to experience more joy by facing your fears. That's what I've learned. But you get more depression, more unhappiness when you put your fears off, when you run from them. And that's correct with all anxiety disorders, especially social anxiety. I found that years ago when I first started out, before I started helping clients, I used to avoid people because I felt bad, and I was trying to like make myself feel better and then go and socialize, but it just got worse and worse. But when I started to just take a chance and meet people and go to events and job interviews and first dates and public speaking courses and go to the boxing gym, that's how I started to get a lot better. And I built my confidence up and built that momentum from doing that. So I know it from first-hand experience, and obviously that's when I started working with clients. I've seen it with clients who have got bad anxiety to begin with, especially social anxiety, which kind of comes with anxiety anyway if you've got an anxiety disorder. And I see how much more confidence they get, how much more relaxed they get when they keep consistently going out and socializing. But I've had it with clients that, and I understand this, right, where they're not consistent. They might do a few sessions with me, they make some progress, they go out, and then they stop. They give in to the anxiety, and they don't make the progress that a client makes with me that is committed, that keeps doing it. So it's not easy. No, this isn't easy, but it's not going to be hard all the time. But there are times where it's going to be really difficult, and that's when it is good to, have some support from friends, or you have a mentor to hold you accountable and give you that bit of extra help and support. And most of the anxieties, and someone said it's a good point, is it's the facing the fear of feelings, emotions. That's what frightens people usually the most, and same for me. We don't like the feelings that anxiety brings up when we keep going into it, because that's what kind of happens when you've got a lot of anxiety. You've got kind of like a base level of anxiety, nervousness, fast heartbeat, or your mind's racing a lot, overthinking, and people kind of get used to that. But when you start moving forward at the start, and even in the middle, lots of sort of uncomfortable feelings start to come up. Most of the feelings that we buried in childhood, and even feelings that we've been burying over the weeks. And a lot of those feelings are, they can be a mixture of guilt and shame, or just feelings that are really uncomfortable. I feel those feelings right now today, feelings of grief and sadness and depression, and a mixture of all different feelings that don't feel nice and pleasant. And these are the feelings that generally people run from, and that's why a lot of times people will drink alcohol, or will take drugs, or in my case eat a lot of sugary stuff, or go for chocolates or fizzy drinks or snacks to try to numb out these feelings, to try to avoid them. But that only makes it worse in the long run. It doesn't regenerate those emotions and enable you to heal and get past them. It makes them worse. So facing those feelings is how you get stronger. Those feelings that anxiety contains, it contains a lot of them. And we're smart as humans, even unconsciously. We know what we're avoiding, because it's our fears, our anxieties. Most of the times we know it, and we're frightened to death of it. So we're doing things to try to avoid it. We're trying to stuff those emotions down. We're trying to not think about them because of the shame and the guilt and the loneliness and the rejection and the pain and the discomfort. And it's natural as humans. We don't like feeling bad. But there's a point where I've learned where you have to learn how to feel bad, and you have to learn to get more acceptant with it, more used to it, because if you don't, then it gets worse, and it really can make people's life hell. But like I said, you're not going to feel bad forever, and you're not going to be depressed forever if you take steps to recovery and facing it. And a friend said that to me recently, and a therapist said it, and he was right. He said, thoughts wouldn't bother most people, like negative thoughts or OCD intrusive thoughts or bad thoughts, or, thoughts wouldn't bother people if they didn't trigger emotions. It's really the emotions that bother us the most. That was the same for me as a kid. I hated I hated bad emotions. It frightened the life out of me. I didn't like feeling lonely, sad, rejected, uncertain, ashamed, guilty, worried. As a kid, it made me petrified. I was desperate to feel safe and to feel good and, loved and feeling good, peaceful. So obviously we know the difference between the two. So when we're feeling good, it feels great, of course, and we're desperate to hold on to that. When we're feeling bad, depending on how much experience we got, how the tools that we built with all this, we hate it. We don't like it. We're frightened of it. We're afraid of the depression. We're afraid of the loneliness. We're afraid of the fears that it brings up and how it makes us feel personally. It makes us feel like we're the only ones, which is not true. So a lot of the beliefs are distorted around anxiety, the irrational beliefs, and these all become like a cocktail of anxiety. So the feelings, the emotions, the beliefs that we believe, which are not true, but we can believe that they're true because we've believed it for so long. But I found every time you push through that experience, you get a bit stronger each time. And when it comes on the next time, you're not going to like it, but you're going to be a bit stronger. And that again is the behavioral practice of taking action, of facing fears. And unfortunately, you can't learn this from reading a book, because the problem with the books is they don't make you face these emotions. Obviously, some books can be helpful because they can educate you on anxiety and the causes and what the solution is, but they're not going to fix you alone. You've got to do that with the help of a therapist or a mentor like me, a community. You've got to, you can't read a book on how to face the fear of public speaking. I mean, you can read a book on that, but if you don't go and do public speaking, you're not going to learn. You're not going to get past that fear. You're not going to get the confidence. You're not going to get the strength, because you haven't actually gone and done the very thing that you're scared to do. Let's read. So it causes you a lot of anxiety, and have a 5-year plan to move on. Hold on. Just getting rid of some of the spam here. Some of any sort of like hate that I get, I just ban it and get rid of it. And that's another fear that people are afraid of, getting trolled online or people being ignorant. And it's standing up to that fear and obviously not responding in hate, but ignoring it or deleting it or reporting it. And that's a huge fear that people have, that I had growing up, that I had to overcome, is standing up to bullying, name calling, people saying things. Hold on a second. Here we go. So, like I said, things like I get it, people won't start a business today because they're frightened of people criticizing them online or getting hate. But everyone experiences that, because that's part of people being negative and being hateful. But it's not being afraid of that, or it's facing that fear and showing up and not doing things in case someone criticizes you. Because if you live like that, then you're not going to get things done. And that's a big fear today, and it's nasty what people do, but that's the nature of a lot of people. But there's also a lot of good people, but it's not letting bullies win, not letting them keep you in fear and anxiety. And the more, like anyone, like David Goggins, anyone that's successful, anyone that does positive things, and a lot of people will like them, is going to get negative people. But you have to accept that in life, because if you're afraid of people that do that, then they ruin your life. You let them ruin your life. And that's why I say to my clients, or for men and women, if you're getting bullied or trolled online and people are, because it can make some people suicidal, report it. Report it to the police, or ignore it, or take up martial arts boxing so you're not affected by it, and keep doing positive things, keep being a good person, keep helping other people, and then it can't get you. So another fear, that many of you and many of my clients and friends and good people like ourselves have to face, and that's bullying. And most of our anxieties, actually, not all of it, but majority of it, has come from being bullied growing up, being hurt, being taken advantage of. So it's rebuilding yourself. And that's a big part of my story. Most of my anxieties were initially because I got bullied at school and around my area, because I was sensitive. I was a caring person, and I didn't like trouble, and I got targeted by bullies that were insecure. But years later, I built my confidence back, and so I've got the skills now I wouldn't allow someone to bully me. I've got the strength. But that came from the practices today, and facing those feelings that bullying causes. So bullying really isn't right. But I think it's the good thing about today as well. I appreciate all of you coming on. Is sometimes you need like a couple of hours of a talk to really motivate you and for it to sink in. And I know for me, when I would listen to podcast shows, usually I'd get more out of the long ones, because I'd need time to really get my mind and brain to change the way that I was thinking. No, I'm not Jewish, not that I know of. Irish descent and English, British, but you never know. Could have some in my genes. You never know. Who knows? So be patient as well. These things take time, which is why I say do it daily and don't compare yourself to others. I've just given examples there of clients, things in my own life, and really, if I can't speak from my own life experience, then I'd kind of be wasting my time being here today. And that's what makes me qualified, because I lived and experienced the anxiety that all of you have. But what changed for me was I went out and learned to live with it and move forward and create a very good life for myself. And in doing that, when I stopped obsessing over getting rid of it, it went away miraculously. And then I was happy it went away, but then it came back. And then I said, right, I have to apply more of a mature philosophy now. So I had to learn some new tools. So for me, it's also been an ongoing journey. My journey really started, I guess, you could say, when I was a teenager at school, getting bullied, suffering from awful anxiety, which I later realised now was also OCD. I didn't know it was OCD back then. And having to continue, because like I said, things do happen in life that can affect us at some point. Yeah, all the people here are good people. It's nice to know as well that you're not on your own, that we're not on our own. We can feel like that, but when you go online, you really realise how everyone is the same in so many ways. We all battle with these things in our lives at time, even teachers. It's not like, you go out, you build some confidence, you face some fear, which is great. You achieve your goals, and then your life is always going to be perfect. It's not like that. No one's life's like that. I have this conversation with my friend all the time, and it's always a nice conversation. And and he's a coach as well. He runs a business, And we say, no one's life's perfect. We forget sometimes, people do it with me, they've done it with me. I've been grateful for a good life that I've had, but they've seen me online and said, you know, you're lucky. I mean, we're all lucky in that sense to be alive, but you're blessed. But I want to say to them, no, you think my life perfect, but it isn't. I've got struggles as well, daily struggles. There's periods where things go really well and the struggles kind of are not apparent, but then there's things that happen where I'm struggling, but I just try and keep going, keep moving forward and doing what I enjoy and helping other people. So it's not like that. But again, it's hard for people to comprehend, especially when they see someone online who's got lots of followers and they're successful and they're confident at speaking. And just because someone's confident at speaking, it doesn't mean that they're not having anxiety, that they're not struggling, they're not having fears. They do. But what it clearly is evident that they've learned to still do what they're doing. And I think people that have not managed that yet can't sort of comprehend, their life to a person's life. They think that, oh, well, if I didn't have this anxiety now, if I didn't have all these fears, I'd be able to be like them because they don't have all these fears. But it's like, no, that's kind of inaccurate. They've got the same fears and anxieties that you've got, but they've got better at dealing with it, or they've got more experience. They've faced more than you have. It doesn't mean that they're better. They're not intrinsically more of a valuable human being than you are. I don't see it like that. I'm making a lot of effort to move out to the USA. I have a career and I'll be able to use that skill in Norway where I have to move again. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, as I said, all the skills that you can use, I used this skill when I first traveled. Well, I first traveled on my own, I think 2 years ago to Germany. I was really anxious about traveling. I traveled before with a friend, but I was doing it on my own. But I practiced the same skill and it worked amazing. I was in a good mood anyway, but I was anxious, but I moved forward with the anxiety. And in doing that, I got stronger. And then I'd done another trip to Germany. The second time, I was more confident, and even more confident because I was like, I don't mind if I'm anxious or not. I know I can do it. And that's where a lot of confidence comes in, where you don't mind if you're anxious or not, but you believe that you can do it because you've done it. So again, that explanation, that is not having any anxiety or not having any fears or doubt. It's having those things, but being confident that you can live, you can do what you need to do, you can go where you need to do, and you can be yourself under the circumstances. Do you believe in extraterrestrials? Yes and no. I'm not gonna say no because you never know for sure. I'm open-minded. It's not something that I massively think about or I'm into, but I'm gonna say you never know. You never know. I'd be ignorant to completely say no, not at all. You're welcome. So yeah, hopefully today educated people more and motivated you, inspired you to face your fears when you're not feeling great and give you a bit of a different perspective rather than the anxiety perspective, which is very always negative, and it always sort of goes back to not accepting it and feeling that you shouldn't feel it and wanting it to go away and not wanting to go and do things because you don't feel good, as opposed to accepting that it's there, even accepting that you may not be able to accept it. You probably won't right now, it's going to take some time, but move forward anyway. Go to the gym and work out even when you're not feeling good, and you'll feel better anyway. Go to work, complete your task. Read a book. You might have to do some reading to study something, but you're not feeling good. Go for it. Do it anyway. That's interesting. What you said there. That's interesting about the different planets. I find that fascinating. Oh, that's great, David. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're new. How did you find the channel, by the way? I don't have a clue how people find it now. YouTube's changed from when I started. A lot of the stuff has changed. Even though I'm on YouTube and I put the videos out, I've kind of lost touch with all the technology and the algorithms. I've not really bothered with it. It's a lot more fun this way. Oh, does it? That's good. Yeah, because one of my clients, Phil, is a lovely guy. He helps people. He helps people to overcome social anxiety, sort of quiet, shy people, and to also live a positive lifestyle. And he's doing my mentorship at the moment. I'm mentoring him mostly on business and stress management and things like we spoke about today. And he was asking me about the titles, and I said to him, look, be authentic. You know, don't try and copy the algorithm, because it's not going to work out in the long run. You know, write the title that you want to write that comes from your heart. You can't copy my titles because you're running your. And we agreed that's a great decision to make, and he did that, and it's working out more because, you know, if you want to reach your people that you want to help, again, you don't want to be copying other people, which is why on my titles, I title the videos from my experience, from my teaching, not going online and going, oh, well, that person who does teachings on anxiety or confidence, they write that, they get a lot of views, so I'm going to copy that. I mean, look, people do that, but I just think it's, in the long run, it's better to be yourself. It's better to come from what you do, and if the algorithm favors you, great. But in the end, you'll reach the right people. No, I agree with you, David. I totally agree with you. Thanks. I really appreciate that, man. That made me feel good. It's good to see you spreading positivity in the world that's not only fractured, but well and truly broken. I agree. I'm not going to lie. You know, years ago, I'd get a little bit triggered when people would say that. I would kind of like say, don't be negative, don't project. But I've changed my perspective, and I do agree. The reality is, you know, we are living in a broken world. It is really a difficult time right now, and even positive people say that. And again, I can get it. It's not going to offend me if someone says, oh, you know, we create our own reality. There's some truth in that, but there's flaws in that too. You know, it is a difficult time. It's been a difficult time for me as well. Everyone that I know, even positive friends and many people that I know, and so many people, it's a difficult time right now. So anxiety is so prevalent right now. You know, even people who quote unquote have never had a mental health problem, like a lot of us have, or they don't have OCD or an anxiety disorder, they're experiencing high levels of anxiety and uncertainty and worry because of the conditions. You know, the financial pressures today, there's so much negativity going on, which is why I stay away from it as much as I can. But you can't fully avoid it, but you can reduce it and do positive things. But it is challenging. I feel the same. I feel like I wish the world could go back to even how it felt 15 years ago, but we have to try to accept and move on. Do I recommend medication for anxiety? I would say I can't give you an answer on that because I'm not a qualified doctor, and I've used medication for my recovery in 2017, and it did help me. But for me personally, I didn't like some of the side effects, so I used it for a couple of years and I came off it. And so I think you've got to speak to professionals, your family, but ultimately you've got to make a decision about it. You're welcome, David. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for subscribing. Have a good day, man. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think medication is ever the answer in the long run, but maybe for a short period. But again, it's always a tough one when people ask that, because I don't want to say I don't want to say no, don't take medication, and then your mental health gets affected because I've told you that. And as I said, I'm not a qualified doctor, and I don't prescribe medication, and it's different for every person. So you really got to decide for yourself and do what you think's best, and speak to your family, doctors, professionals, and then make a decision. If you go online, you'll kind of get a balanced view as well, with a lot of teachers or people like myself who have taken medication. I was always really frightened of it personally, but I needed it in 2017, and I took it, and it did help me. It did help me to get through a really difficult time in my life. But eventually, I came off the medication, obviously with support and help, and then getting myself well again. So it just really depends on you and your situation and what decision you make. It's funny you said medication is never the answer on the long run, and I was just thinking a great actual medication I found is going for a long run, which is really good for mental health and discipline, confidence, and getting used to managing anxiety. But again, it might not be right for everyone. It's helped me. I'm going to try and go for a run again. I've had a few days off, and it does make you stronger. Yeah, that's some of the side effects I found difficult, David. When I was on the medication, I literally felt like a zombie. Like I had to take mine in the night because I couldn't like walk around with it because it was so strong. Like, so I'd usually take mine about 9 at night, and then sleep like 2 hours later because it just completely sedated me and made me just feel exhausted. But it did help, calm the mind down and thoughts and anxiety. But yeah, with medication, I think it's like anything that you're going to put in your body. Like, you got to make a decision on that. Someone can't really tell you. Oh, really? Oh, that's good to know. I think studies have shown, and from my own experience and learning from other people like Tyson Fury or Frank Bruno, have been through mental health. And I don't think Tyson Fury took medication, but I think Frank Bruno did. They've all said that it's not a long-term thing, that exercising is probably one of the best medications out there. But again, that doesn't mean that someone may not need medication, exercise, and therapy and professional help. It depends. Everyone's different, and you need different things at different times. Yeah, I get it. I think, today we're living in a time where it is harder to make friends with people. My clients have that challenge. I have that challenge. And I think I don't have all the answer to it, but I think the time we're living in, because so many people are on the internet and the machines, and there's not as much social engagement now, even between friends and family, because people spend a lot of time, which is why I encourage my clients to delegate quite a lot of time to spending time with their family, friends, or their community in person, not on the machines. And even I do that as well. After today's live stream, I will go and meet with a friend if I can, if they're free, and you have a great time. That's really, really important for recovery and all these things. And, not just recovery or getting over anxiety, but living a better life. Without friends, you get too lonely. So it's good to have some time alone, but also it's good to have relationships in person, not cyber relationships. So it's, trying to do the best you can. And, finding communities of like-minded people, that's where you'll increase your chances of making friends. My client Phil goes to a lot of meetup groups, and he also runs his own meetup groups, and that is a good way of, and I go to meetups and I run my own meetup group as well. So going to meetup groups, I mean, it won't guarantee it, but it will increase your chances of making friends. But I think with making good friends, it's a tricky one because you can't force it. It has to come naturally, but you've got to take steps in going out and joining events and meeting with friends, or re-messaging, sometimes going through your phone book and recontacting friends that you're close with. And sometimes we've got to face our fears of reaching out, and that's why it's good also to get mentorship. I usually find when clients take a mentorship program with me, they start spending more time with their family and friends, they start going out more, they start going to the gym, things start to connect more, things start to fall into place. But when people I get it, it's not easy. When people are stuck and they get down and they start saying, well, I can't get out of the house, which I understand is not easy. I'm not making any friends, or I don't have any friends. Sometimes you don't realize that there are friends out there, but you're pushing them away, you're isolating. So I'd encourage anyone to try to stop isolating and just start gradually taking steps to get out of that isolation. Because a lot of the times, it's like with people, I know this from experience. When you sort of project that you're not in a good mood, sometimes people will back off, they'll respect that, and then it feels like, no one wants to talk to you or connect. So you've really got to start to open yourself up a bit more and let people in if you want to make friends. But it's not easy though, it's not a quick fix. I wish I could give a quick fix. I don't think any teacher, any person can just give you a quick fix method on how to make friends, especially a good friend. Anyone can make fake friends, which is something that I personally won't have and don't want, and I think a lot of you wouldn't want. So to have genuine friends is something that you can't just force. It's a bit like saying, I want to get a wife, or for women, I want to get a husband straight away. You can't get it like that, or it won't be natural. If you just went online and you just, it's unlikely, not possible, but if people just went on online dating and then met on a first date and said, let's just get married, I mean, what are the chances of that working? Pretty low. You don't know each other. So it's not an easy thing. It has to sort of come naturally, but you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to come out and travel and see the world and socialize and rekindle relationships that you've got, or go to find communities like this. Like I said, I can't guarantee some of you can become friends. I couldn't force that. It wouldn't be natural. But if it's going to go that way, that would be great. Some of you might get talking. You might decide that you want to, go for a coffee because you've met on this live stream. You might go for a coffee, and hopefully you get along. You go for another coffee, and then the friendships happens. But it might be a case where you meet up and you don't connect with one another, and that's okay. That's not like your fault. Can't force chemistry if it's not there. And I think a lot of the times clients and people do this. I've done it. They put pressure, they blame themselves. Like, we can't do that. We're not in control of that. And that's part of growing more with this anxiety disorder, is we want to control everything because we get scared and we put pressure. But you cannot force. Like, I can't come online and force people to like me and force them to follow me on YouTube or to take my advice. I can only put myself out there, be myself, and let it happen naturally. And that's the same with making friends. So, but you can guarantee if you just isolate, then you're going to decrease your chances of making friends. That's why I say that all people of all ages, men and women, try not to isolate. Speak to your friends and family, go to the gym, because the gym is a community. People go to the gym. especially like a boxing gym. Usually, if you join a boxing gym and if you go there and you stick to it long term, you'll make friends there. You'll get to know people there, or even at the gymnasium, you lift weights. If you go there long enough, you get to see certain faces. You say hello, you meet each other in the gym, or wherever, the sauna, when you're swimming, working out on weights. You get to know the familiar faces, and from that can develop a friendship. But you also have to accept that it may not. You can't just think that it has to happen, because it may not, but it eventually will happen. Oh, I totally get that. It's funny you mention it, bed bugs. Yeah, I've experienced that. They are frightening. Um, Look, I would say, because I went through that as well. I lived in a place before here, and it got infested with them, and I ended up moving out, thankfully. And I had a friend who was afraid of them, and a lot of people don't like them. But I would say for that one, um, it's a difficult one, because I'd say, yeah, you don't want to go and stay in a hotel if there's bed bugs. Obviously, you would stay in it. But if you live under the sort of fear that I'm never going to stay in a hotel, because what if there's a bed bug, then you're kind of like giving into fear. So I think be sensible. I think if you want it, you should still stay in hotels if you want to. But so it's accepting uncertainty, and also accepting that bed bugs can't kill you. They're not nice things to have. You can get rid of them. You call the people in. So I'd say that's the best answer I could give you. But if you worry about it, you get people, you might feel the same. I understand, where they won't go on public transport because bed bugs can be there or travel. And if you live like that, you're not living your life. You're letting bed bugs ruin your whole life. So I think it's important to face that fear and overcome it, and to not think about it so much. But I get it. It can be a big fear. Really, Steve? Wow, you've been through a lot. You slept on the street. That's a tough one. Obviously, that's not a nice experience, but there is hope. You've come back from that, and many people do. So it's also not giving up. Yeah, that's a good point. What you mentioned, job dues. It's a good point. So yeah, at some point we've got to take a risk, because a lot of these things sound like the OCD themes, and if you take them to extreme, you can't live. So with the bed bugs, how I got over that was just eventually forgetting about it, and I couldn't live my life all the time, because it's funny you said that. I remember when I travelled, a couple of thoughts came about that, and I just ignored them and got over it. The thoughts were, what if when I travelled to different countries and met friends out there and stayed with them, what if they've got bed bugs, and what if I bring them back, and then what if I get them in my place again? But I just accepted it and said, I'm not going to think about that. Then I didn't even think about it again. But it might take you a bit more time to get over it. Well, the long face is genetics, weight loss, and I woke up out the wrong side of the bed this morning, but managed to get here and do a good live stream. Wow, an hour and a half. It's gone quick today. And that's what I mean. I hope this helps people. You know, I didn't feel great this morning waking up, and I didn't know if I could do this live stream for all of you, because I'm human as well. But I've managed to do it, and you feel good. It feels good helping everyone today, and appreciate all the support and everyone helping one another in this community. So that would be an example that I've tried my best to teach people today, is to show up and complete a task that's positive for you, that's positive for others when you're feeling anxious. Because I woke up this morning with anxiety, still experiencing anxiety with the anxieties that I'm going through and stresses in my life. But was able to do a live stream today for an hour and a half, where I could have put it off. I could have easily put it off and said, I'm not going to do it because I'm not feeling perfect or good, and I know that wouldn't be a good thing, and then I would miss out on helping more people. I'm glad you enjoy it, Cade. Keep going, love the energy. Appreciate you coming on. Yeah, please do subscribe if you're enjoying these streams. It helps, I suppose it helps the community and help more people. Any questions you've got, let me know. And I also do private one-on-one mentoring sessions. If any of you are interested in booking a mentoring session with me, my email address is below this video. You can apply for my mentorship, and then I can tell you my schedule, my availability, and we can work. And we can work together if I can help you with your confidence, your discipline, a lot of the things that we've spoken about today, and give you that help and support you need. And that's one thing that I would add, you know, it's so important to have help and support. And, you know, not just from a therapist or a mentor like myself, or a coach, a mentor, but from friends. You know, that's all part of learning to support yourself. And that's not a weakness. A lot of people think that it's not, it's a strength. It's a strength to give support to others, to get the support you need. And, you know, I've got a therapist to help me and give me support, because I need it. I can't do everything on my own. So mentors need support too. Therapists have therapists, counselors have counselors. You know, usually personal trainers will have a mentor as well, because we want to get better in life. So that's something that I'd really encourage a lot of you to really consider. The more support you have, the better you can get through in life and enjoy things, and it's you make more progress when you've got support. I've seen clients who have got a lot of support. They might work with me, and then they've got a therapist, they've got friends, they've got a community, they've got the gym, they got their family. They end up making massive changes in their life that are positive. Whereas I've seen when people reject support, they don't invest in mentors, they don't ask for help. I understand it takes courage, because people are scared to get that help, usually because you're afraid of what you're going to have to face and, you know, opening up. But that's much better than staying where you are and just things not getting better, but getting worse. You're welcome, man. I would say another tip as well, when you're going through a challenging time, is just try to focus on getting through today and focusing on something positive, and allowing yourself to, you know, to experience the suffering or the anxiety that you're going through. And you may find that you have a better day, and then the next day you do a little bit better, the next day, and the next day. The momentum, it will carry through to the next days. So yeah, you know, not to put pressure, because I understand it is hard, but there's two choices every day. You can put things off and stay where you are, feeling how you are, or you can take the brave step. You're not feeling great, feeling however you're feeling, hopeless, down, depressed, and move forward, however that means. That usually means leaving the house and getting things done, going to work, or, you know, communicating your struggles with friends, family, or mentors, and taking action. Another thing as well is, some of you mentioned about happiness, Steve, is we all do it, and it can be very, very harmful. It's not putting pressure to be happy. Of course, it's nice to be happy, but you can't force yourself to be happy, but you can force yourself to be disciplined, as I've said. You can force yourself to be grateful, because we're not always going to be happy in life, especially when, when things go wrong that are not in our control. For me, a friend passing away obviously has affected me. So my face is not going to be happy every day. I'm going through grief. I'm allowing myself to grieve, but still moving forward, and trying to finding gratitude every day and moving forward. So the happiness will come, obviously, when you get over the grief that you're going through. People going through breakups, challenges, financial, mental, emotional. So although I understand people want to be, it doesn't mean you can't still try and be positive, but you can't force yourself to be happy when you're really unhappy or you're down. That's going to make you feel worse. That's going to put more pressure. But you can take the steps towards recovery and getting yourself back to being happy again, if that makes sense. Because people try it doesn't work. I've tried it in my life, it doesn't work. I'd be myself. If I came on today and tried to make myself smile and laugh, it's not going to be natural because I'm not feeling happy. I'm going through a challenging time, but I'm being myself. I'm being how I feel. And that's taken me like 20 years to have the courage to do that. Because I was the same growing up. I always was worried about what people would think if my face was serious or if I showed that I was down. But I've got to a stage now where I'm okay with it. It actually feels better. This feels more peaceful. And then I know that the happiness can come whenever it's going to come, tomorrow or next week. And if it doesn't come, that's fine. You still find peace. I still feel really good today to come onto this live stream and to have this experience. It's way better. So being happy is lovely, and being positive is good, but forcing yourself to be happy is really, really bad for your mental health. I've seen people do it, and I follow people online as well, and that's why I like David Goggins, because David Goggins won't fake any type of mood. That's why I really get a lot from his stuff. If he's happy, he's going to be happy, but a lot of videos that I saw, he wasn't happy, but he was motivated. And it inspired me to be stronger. So I didn't need him to be happy all the time. You just need someone to give you the support that you're looking for and the strength. Now, of course, if you are happy, that is a bonus, of course. It does feel better if we're around people and they're happy and they're smiling, but you can't always be like that. Especially when you're going through grief, it would almost be like being a psycho. It wouldn't make sense. So I just want to really make a point of that, because it's like, it happens to all of us. Someone dies, that you love. You're not going to be happy. It doesn't mean that you can't still try and move on and find happiness, but for that period, you're going to be grieving until you recover from that grief. But that doesn't mean that you can't still get the most out of life. You can be grateful. You can still work on being positive. You can still try and, have fun and joke, like I do that with my friends, but you can't, in situations that are stressful, like doing these talks at times, they're not stressful when I was happy and things were going well in every area, but now it is stressful. But like I said, the main point is to show up and do the best you can. And that's being real as humans, we're not always happy, our emotions change. But what we have got control over is discipline. And like I said, a big part of the struggles that I went through growing up, and that's why I can help my clients, is I was always trying to force myself to be perfect. always trying to force myself to be happy. If someone looked at me, I'd feel this urgency to smile when I didn't feel like smiling. And that come from the anxiety. It come from pressure of trying to be perfect. And when I look back, it wasn't right. It wasn't natural. And of course, millions of you go through that. It's weird how, like, that we have to explain how to be human. I've got to explain it to myself. So, for example, when you're in the middle of a run, a marathon run, or when I'm doing my runs, there's periods where I'll do a clip and I'll be happy in the run, but most of the time you're not happy. You're in a challenging experience, but you are thriving in it. That's how you learn. So I don't, it's weird how people get so confused on happiness and feeling this pressure that they've always got to be happy, or when they're on a video. And when I go on YouTube videos now, I'm not thinking this person has to be happy. I just want them to be honest and be truthful, and I want to get the help that I need. And if they're not happy, then I don't really care. As you said, as long as they can help me, or I'm getting what I'm looking for. But there's times where people are happy and you think, oh, that's nice, there's a good energy that's coming from them. But trying to be happy all the time, it definitely doesn't work when it's you can't do it because you're going through grief. And it's a bit like someone going through a breakup. As soon as you go through a breakup, you're not going to be happy about it. You're going to be deeply sad and upset. So trying to be happy would be counterproductive. But it would be good to still go out and socialize and be with the mood that you are. And that's how you accept yourself more. You get stronger like that. No, I don't agree on that. I don't agree on that whole looks factor personally. And if that was true, then that would be evident in the world. So no, I don't agree on that. I don't agree that men or women need to find each other based on looks. I don't agree on that at all. I think that's a very limited way of thinking, a very limited mindset. But I understand, again, it comes back to a lot of the anxieties in the world that we live in. And it depends on the person. Depends on the woman. You can't just generalize every woman or every man and just say every woman goes for looks, every man goes for looks in a woman, because not everybody does. Maybe a lot of people do, but some people go for personality. Some people go for confidence, experience, values. There's many different factors. But if you believe that, then you're going to achieve that. But if you work on being a better person and doing pretty much most of the things that I try and teach and share on this platform with my clients and channel, you'll prove that to be wrong. But again, that's going to come down to your personal choice. Again, I can't force you to have my perspective, but as you've asked me the question, I don't agree on that. But I can see his point. I can see why people do agree on that, because we do live in quite a looks image-based society. But I don't go on that narrative. And I remember even Les Brown saying that, I go by, for me personally, it's, yeah, of course, it's, it's helpful. There can be part truth in that we get attracted by how someone looks, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you meet someone and they might be your type, quote unquote, but as you get to know them, they become attractive because you like them as a person, their energy. So that's always a cop-out, I think, about the looks. I think people use that because it's an easy way out. And there's a lot of people that are good looking that struggle, because they struggle with confidence, because they struggle in other departments of personality, of character, of discipline, values, loyalty, kindness, openness, vulnerability. So there's a lot of different factors that determine people being attracted to one another. And the sort of obvious one is always looks. But if that was the case, then only good looking people whatever that is, right, would date good-looking people, quote unquote, and then we can ask the question, you know, what's good looking to you may not be the same to someone else. So there's someone for everyone. But if you're in that limited mindset, you're going to fall into the fear of that. You're going to project that, and you're going to experience that. And you know, looks fade over time. You know, if you've had experience in having relationships, all of you would know that. You know, you can be attracted to someone based on how they look, but after spending some time with them, you can lose that attraction because you might not like their attitude, or they might not be nice to be around, or they might not have the same values that you've got. And go the other way around. You might, couples have met first meeting and they said they weren't attracted to one another, but then they, got to know each other as friends, and over time, they fell in love. I've experienced that myself. So I wouldn't say it's just the defining factor all the time. But obviously, if you look after yourself, it can make you feel better. But if you diet and you exercise and you try and live a good life, you will feel better. So I personally think most beauty is within, and then it spreads out based on you as who you are as a person inside. But I know most of society won't agree on that. I'm fine with that. They'll probably laugh at me and say that I'm naive or foolish, but that's them. That's not what I go by. But confidence is a big part of attractiveness for both men and women. Not arrogance, but confidence. Just sorry that my friends messaged me on Instagram. I've said if you practice daily discipline, it will improve you in every area of your life. I mean, again, it's good to get other opinions as well. Don't just get my opinion or what I've said. Ask your female friends, ask your male friends. I've asked my female friends before, what is it that you like in men? Is it just based on looks? And some would say yes, and some would say no. That's not important for me. They would say it's based on usually what I've heard from female friends, what they're attracted to in men is confidence, honesty, personality, intelligence, and things like that, or being open-minded. It's usually those same things. And as you said, looks change as we get older or younger. But some people get better with age because they work on enjoying their life and being positive. But I think in the long run, personality goes a hell of a long way. But a lot of people, it depends on their mindset and their perspective on life and what they experience. If you grow up in school like I did years ago, it was looks was sort of valued highly, but that was because you're young, you're impressionable, society, watching movies. But as you get older, you start to see, you get proof that that's not true. Like I said before, and again, it's what is good looking. It is subjective. Is that the right word? That's a good point. Yeah, what you said. Looks gets you through the door, but personality takes effect on you. Yeah. But obviously there's things that you can do to, improve your appearance, like the way you dress, looking after yourself, a good diet. Those things play a part. But if you just solely rely on that, you're not going to have all the tools in life, because if being good looking was the full answer to life, then every good looking person would be happy, peaceful, they'd have no problems, no challenges, and that's just not the case. But I'm not saying that someone who may be feeling insecure about their looks shouldn't, go gym and work on improving it, because they can and they should. They've got a choice to do that. So you can improve your looks. You can improve that by your diet. You can improve it by your attitude, by your confidence. You can improve it by your body language, by exercising. Body language plays a huge part in attractiveness. The way you speak, being authentic, as I said earlier. If you're not being yourself, then that can work against you. And being yourself can attract someone into your life. Some people, women and men, I'm the same, are very attracted to authenticity. Someone who's honest, who's real, who's not perfect. None of us are. And some people tend to go for people that are fake. That's not my preference, like what they are, or artificial. That's their choice. Nothing to do with me. So it's also preference. It depends on your values. It depends on what you're looking for, what you don't want. All these things, they're all factors that play a part. But if you narrow in and just believe it's all about looks, and you believe that, then that's going to hold you back in life. If you also believe, I don't believe that, if you believe that you're not good looking enough, and therefore that means you're not good enough and you can't find someone, or someone won't like you, then you're going to put that out, and you're probably going to get that because of the low confidence, and because of you're kind of rejecting yourself. So this maybe for a lot of people is about challenging their beliefs, and I believe that when I was younger, growing up, because parents would say that I was handsome, but then kids at school, you get kids at school that would say that I was ugly and make fun of me, and I felt insecure about my looks for many years growing up. And I always believed that it's because of how I look. But as I got older, when I started working on my confidence, I overcame that fear. I didn't even think about how I looked anymore. Then I got a girlfriend in a relationship, and I felt confident. I wasn't thinking in that way anymore, and that's when the results changed. And then I'd kind of get more compliments, and I've seen that with other people, with clients who initially said to me, I think I'm not good looking because I got bullied at school. And when they start working on their confidence, when I say, it's not true, you're not an ugly person. I don't think anyone's ugly. But then over time, they get compliments because they get more confident, and they stop believing that belief. They stop taking advice from people that are not really qualified to give advice, and it's coming from a negative or a very limited perspective. But you can take anything to the extreme. Some men think that they have to have big muscles, otherwise they're not going to be attracted to women. They won't get a partner. That's completely nonsense. It's not true. I don't have big muscles. I'm slim. I like being how I am. And you get people of all shapes and sizes. And if that was the case, then every single woman out there, every single married woman, or every single woman would only be dating men that were like Arnold Schwarzenegger, that had big muscles. It's clearly not the case. So look at the evidence in life. Same with men that think, if I'm bald, if I'm losing my hair, women won't find me attractive. Well, if that was the case, then I wouldn't have had a relationship, being that I'm bald. I've lost most of my hair. So many men. David Goggins wouldn't have a wife then. He's bald. So many men around the world that are bald that have got a wife and a girlfriend. But if you believe that and you fully invest in that, then you're probably going to reject yourself. A lot of men as well, and I understand, they believe that they have to be 6'2" to get a girlfriend. It's not true. Yeah, some women are going to have a preference for taller men. That's a fact, but not every woman is. There's many men that are shorter that have got a wife or a girlfriend, And there's some short men that have got a girlfriend and taller men haven't. So the proof's there. It's all about your perspective and looking at the evidence in the world. Hello back to New Zealand. I'm coming on. And people will do that with age. They'll say, I'm too old now. I'm 40. I'm old. I'm 50, 60. But then you'll look at someone who's 60 and they're running a successful business, or someone who's 60 has got married or found someone, where another person will say, I'm too old now to find a partner, or I'm too old now to change my diet. If you believe that, you achieve that. But if you look at other people that are the same age, they've done it. How comes they've done it? Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. But I understand it is a hard anxiety to break if you've been in that anxiety for many years, but you can do it. You can do it through discipline. All the things that I teach on this platform and to my clients, going to the gym, eating a healthy diet, facing your fears, treating people how you want to be treated, having boundaries, being afraid of bullying, moving forward in life, getting the help that you need. All those things play a part. And I've lived long enough to see it, I've had lots of different friends and been in different social circles and worked with thousands of clients from around the world, all different shapes and sizes, all look different, and have all got different results based on their attitude, how they live and what they're believing, and how they're behaving. Behavior is important. Behavior is attractive. But if you are born good looking, then that's good. You're blessed. You've got an advantage, but it's not everything. Then you'd also need to work on other things as well, because as I said, I've had clients, quote unquote, who are good looking, great people, and they say, look, I'm good looking, but I struggle in my life. I don't have confidence. I'm scared to do things. So everyone's the same, really. We've got different challenges, and everyone's got different advantages. There's going to be things that that a lot of you have got that I don't have, that you're more skilled, and vice versa. We've all got unique skills, but if we just go on the pretense that just about looks, for me it gets really boring. At a certain point, it's like, okay, you're good looking, and what else? Good looks don't pay the bills. There's times in my life I've lived out of two perspectives. As I said, when I was younger, I grew up most of my life actually feeling and believing that I was ugly. I wasn't ugly. I was far from ugly. I look back at pictures now, but I felt like that because of bullying and the beliefs I had. And then I went through a stage of actually feeling a little bit uncomfortable about the fact that I actually felt good looking. I felt good in myself. I felt nervous that I don't want to be arrogant, and I had to find a balance from that. Now I don't think about that. I don't think about, am I good looking, am I not? I focus more on other things that are more important. Good to see you, Underdog. Appreciate the support, the consistent support. I hope you're doing good, man. I appreciate it. But it might be wise, if you've got a friend that's good looking, ask them, and say, well, you're good looking. How is life for you? Do you get any challenges? And if they're honest, they'll say, of course I do. They get doubts too. Men and women that are good looking get doubts. They doubt themselves. They'll compare themselves. That's how the mind works until you get more control over it, until you get more confidence. Even someone who's a model will have insecurities still inside if they haven't worked on inside about not being good looking enough. And society could go, you're clearly good looking. Look, you're attractive. Most of society would agree, but inside they might feel worthless because of low self-esteem and many other insecurities. And you might get someone who's not a model, and they're not model looking, but they've got so much confidence in themselves, and they do better in life because of inside. It's an inside job. It clearly is. And when you really wake up and you understand more about these beliefs and fears and anxieties, and and they are obsessions that, that you need to break out of if you want to stop suffering and enjoy life more. I think, and I mean this well, any of us guys who's got some experience in life and who've had a girlfriend, right? And if you haven't had a girlfriend, please don't feel bad, right? I don't want people to feel bad. It's not, it doesn't mean you're less than anyone. But those of us that have had a relationship or a wife or a partner, I'm sure at some point you've asked your partner, oh, what do you think about that person on the television? Do you think he's good looking? And you might be asking that question in hope that they say, no, he's not good looking, because maybe stereotypically society writes him off as not very good looking. But you might be surprised when they say, yeah, there's something attractive about him. And you might go, what is it? His personality, his energy, something about his character. It may not be about how he looks. There you go. Good to see you, Pete. I haven't seen you in ages. How you been? Good to see you back. Didn't plan to go this long today, and it's gone this way. It's good. Some great questions that we've covered. I mean, this has been a blessing. That's what I said about not expecting anything. We've covered so much today. This has probably been one of the most insightful, interesting live streams that I've done in a long time. I didn't expect it. See, that's kind of what happens when you don't expect it. And I didn't feel like getting out of bed this morning. I woke up feeling anxious and really down, really depressed. And I pushed myself to get on here and help as much as you as I can, and it ends up going really well. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're right. Most of the depression is anxiety. They kind of work together. And it goes the other way as well, I think a lot of the times when we talk about looks with men, they think, oh, it's women judging men on their looks, but it can go the other way. I've had friends who have fell in love and dated a woman, and they felt like most of society is going to judge them because the woman that they're dating is not a model looking, or not stereotypically what you see on Instagram or on television, but they like her. And I say that's all that matters. It's not, who cares what other people think? You're the one that's dating her, and I'm happy for you. Yeah, if you love the person, doesn't matter what size they are, how they look, you love them, that's all that's important. And same for me. If I meet the right woman again, I don't care about what anybody thinks about how she looks. I care about how I feel about her, whether she's a model or she's not a model. It's the last thing on my mind. The most important thing is that you love the person and you like them. It's not about what others think. It's gotten cold, isn't it? I've just realised. But I think as well, equally, I've seen before, when people get a bit resentful and upset at other people that they feel and believe are better looking than them, you shouldn't do that, because, again, I've said to people before, you can't assume that just because someone's good looking that they're arrogant. That's not always true. You can be wrong about that. So don't have that mentality. I mean, really don't judge anyone until you get to know them. So that's another stereotype which has been taken out of context, where if someone is good looking or if they're a model, people assume that person is going to be arrogant because of their insecurities, but that's not entirely true. It could be so far from the truth. The same way someone could be arrogant, if they're not a model, regardless of however they look. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, we're slowly coming to the end now, because I've gone on long today. I didn't expect it. I was going to do about an hour and a half, but the stream it's gone great. So yeah, like I said, it goes back to what I said at the start. learning to move forward even when you don't feel great, you feel down, you feel depressed, you feel anxious. That's how you're going to get better. That's how you're going to improve and get stronger in all areas of life. We've covered pretty much every area today: relationships, career, exercising, dieting, public speaking, all the areas in life that make up life, and a lot of the things that I've helped my clients with and things that I'm working on. Honest communication. We talked about medication, perspective, getting out of bed early, not giving up. So many important things that I really wanted to cover. No, I don't watch that stuff personally. It's not nothing against it, but it's not my particular focus of interest. But I've heard about it. Yeah, I think that's it now. I think I'm pretty much out of energy. I think I've said everything, covered a lot, and another record-breaking time. So yeah, take one step at a time, everyone. Try and complete your daily task. Move forward with your anxiety, and it will get better. You will get stronger. You will move forward more in all areas of life. So yeah, I appreciate everyone coming on, and as always, subscribe, like, share. Those of you that are going to watch this later on, I really appreciate you coming on. And as always, if you want to book a mentoring session with me, my email address is below. I do online mentoring sessions on Zoom, which are great, and they're available for people that are all around the world, different time zones. And I also do mentorship, if need be, in person, if you can get to London, and then we can go from there. All right. Any other questions you've got, let me know in the box below, or you can email me. All right. Have a good day, everyone. I'll speak to you soon. Awesome.